Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's mixed, don't try to mix it. Think before you speak, and look before you leap. And if it's wound up, don't try to wind it. If it's not lost, don't try to find it. It always helps to make it easy on yourself.
I couldn't agree more. So why in the world does the government keep trying to fix what ain't broken?
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
In his very catchy song, If It Ain't Broke, Don't Fix It, artist John Anderson reminds us of how often we humans try to change things that in many cases are better off left alone. If you've been keeping an eye on our friends in Washington, you'll notice they seem to have their fair share of the ain't broke, don't fix it moments, and it seems to be happening on a regular basis. Problem is, when they decide to change up things, it doesn't really affect them, it affects us. Recently, while we were out working hard and saving hard, they were in the halls of Congress pulling off another if it ain't broke, don't fix it moment as they passed into law something they refer to as the Secure Act, a potentially devastating and costly act that could have dramatic consequences to your retirement accounts, particularly your 401k plan. Well, welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement, and I am that little man in the sweater vest 401k rollover specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today, we conclude our series on your required minimum distributions, or RMD, and the effects that this new law recently passed called the Secure Act will affect your retirement both today and after you're dead and gone. Now, before we get started, I've got to introduce to you, as always, the producer of the Worry-Free Retirement, America's favorite financial sidekick, Aaron Orander, along with his favorite sidekick at the technical directoring helm there of Miss Megan Murphy, who we had mic'd up last week. We took the mic back away from her. Aaron, how you doing today, buddy?
Hey, good morning, sir. I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Appreciate you and Megan getting in early this morning. We have, folks, just for your own information, we always record our shows in our Louisville studios early in the morning, and they're pre-recorded, so the date of today's recording is January 7th, 2020. Now, I always give those dates, and it's funny, Aaron, since we've been doing that, it was probably a good thing of the last couple of weeks, because as we've seen, this Secure Act really changed things quickly, didn't it?
Things happen. We got to cover them.
Yeah. So, by the way, I've talked to you briefly. It's been so busy since we got back. Everything good at your household with Christmas and New Year's? And
yeah, we had a great holiday. So,
but you said you're glad to be back.
Yeah, glad to get on a regular work week. It's hard when you've got days off in the middle of the week. You come to work on Monday, then you're off Tuesday and Wednesday, and then you come back Thursday. It's like, man, that's just not. I'm not complaining. Don't get me wrong. It's just it's going to be nice to get back into a rhythm and flow.
Yeah, I always like to say it's hard to get work done when you're not at work. You know what I mean? It's just it's hard to get that flow going. I agree. But anyway, so let's just review this whole ain't broke, don't fix it law that was just passed called the Secure Act. Major changes to the law, and it mainly deals with, there's several things, but the ones we're going to focus on is mainly deals with the distributions, or something they call the required minimum distribution, or RMD. And there's two facets to this, and it's going to be very contradictory until we dive into this. I think you're going to see what the government's up to on this deal. Number one, the age at which you have to start beginning your RMD used to be age 70 and 1/2. Strange age, but that's what it was for years. This act changes that and moves that back to age 72. In other words, for an extra year and a half, if you choose not to, you don't have to draw money out and thus create taxes. Remember, with a 401k, IRA, thrift savings account, assuming it was all pre-tax, whenever you take it out, every dollar that comes out is subject to taxes. So keep that in mind. So that's the first stage. So they're letting us put off taking money out. You following this so far, Aaron?
I'm with you.
But then they go to the second stage, which now this is where it gets confusing unless you really know what they're up to. Again, the second stage, that is, what happens to the taxes buried inside that 401k or the tax tumor and the subsequent required minimum distribution when you die. Under current law, that's changed. Let's go to the previous law. The previous law said, let's say I pass away and I want to leave that to my kids, the IRA. The IRA or 401k would then go to them. They don't have to take all the money out at once because you never know, kids may not want it because of the taxes. Let's use the example of a child that's a highly skilled surgeon making $800,000-$900,000 a year, Aaron, and they're 45 years of age. Mom and dad passes away and leaves them this taxable IRA. Do you think they're really going to take the money out and pay taxes?
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, they're in a high tax bracket in that example. No. Well, what the government says is, unfortunately, yes. Whereas it used to be you could stretch, it was called a stretch IRA, you could stretch those distributions over your lifetime. Now the government will require that sometimes after the date of the death of the owner of the IRA, once it goes to the children, they will have to take it out within 10 years. You following this so far? Yep. So here's my theory here, and here goes. Let me take that's the what. Okay, what just happened? Now the question I always have when something like this happens, because if it's an ain't broke, don't fix it. I didn't see anything wrong with the old laws. You with me? So why are they doing this? So we have to ask why. What is the why here? So I'm going to try to take a stab on this. And we're going to talk about, in imagining, just like the government, your household. You know, the government has money coming in, going out. So do you, right, Aaron?
Yep.
Okay. We all do. So I call the money coming into your household, walk with me on this, Aaron, that's called the in-go. Money coming in.
In-go.
In-go. The money going out to pay for bills and all that, that's the out-go. You with me so far?
Okay.
So let's say you're working at a job making $5,000 a month. Now that's gross. That's your gross salary. All right, I got some cheat notes here because I want to follow this. I don't want to lose my place here. Okay, so by the time all the taxes are withheld, the FICA and all that, your new in-go is $3,000 a month, right? Because you've had all these deductions, all right? But what are your expenses? So let's just say, folks, and I know Aaron doesn't do this, but let's just say Aaron has an outgo of $4,000 a month. Math's not working too good,
That's
is it?
right, math's not adding up.
So he's got a problem. His outgo, when it exceeds his in-go, is a no-go. And it's something that the economists call a deficit or deficit spending. Have you heard that term?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. But since you have, let's say, a credit card, you're able to go to the credit card company and borrow money to cover your monthly deficit of $1,000 a month. Does that make sense? You could do that, right? You just keep borrowing money. So your in-go's not enough to cover your outgo, so you go to the credit card company, you borrow enough money to cover the outgo, and you just assume everything's fine because there's, quote, nothing out of pocket so far. You're just borrowing money. So all of a sudden the credit card company calls and says, hey, Aaron, you owe us $100,000 plus interest, and let's say your only asset is a 401k. Where are you probably going to go get that money to pay?
Go get it from that.
Yeah, and then you're going to have to pay taxes on it. But yeah, so you go get it from the 401k, and as I said, then the tax tumor rears its ugly head. But since we don't know what's in the 401k and what the tax rates will be in the future, that's an uncertainty, right? Pretty scary, right? So this is not a good plan at all. Well, what if I told you that the government is operating under this same strategy? That's not real reassuring, is it? In other words, the government's in-go right now versus their out-go, they are in what's called a deficit. In fact, in 2019, their deficit spending was $1 trillion, that's with a T, $1 trillion.
That's a lot to put on a credit card.
Very good. And that's what they've done. They put it on a credit card, but guess who's going to have to pay that at some point? Not them.
Not them.
You and
Us.
I.
Yeah.
So it's really a very simple question. What are you going to do, Joe Lunchbox out there watching or listening to this program right now, riding down the road, knowing that all this money you've stockpiled in that 401k is going to be taxed, knowing they've changed the rules to the game, knowing that the place they'll probably go get all this money one day, this is my theory, is right from your 401k plan because they control the rules to the game and the tax laws. So if they need more money in the future, they just raise taxes. So when we come back, all right, we're going to talk more about some issues with this whole Secure Act, what's one of the main problems I see that we haven't even talked about, and then, don't give up on me now, I will give you some hope in how we can immediately start to address the Secure Act and how to make it work more favorably for you and your family. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. I'll be right back. Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
I'm teaching you bad grammar today, but this is what we say. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. As we hear somebody on YouTube there, I picked randomly off YouTube, trying to define if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's getting into the grammar of it. He's obviously not from Kentucky, is he, Aaron?
No.
Let me ask you something. Have you ever had an ain't broke, don't fix it moment?
Yeah, I'm sure I have from time to time.
Can I tell you about my most recent?
Yeah,
this
go ahead,
is very
'cause
recent.
I can't think of one
Oh, I
specifically.
can. I've got a bunch of them. I'm notorious for this kind of stuff. But okay, here's my ain't broke, don't fix it moment. Most recently, you heard me talk about this. In fact, we talked about it on the radio show months ago. I replaced a perfectly good 70-gallon water heater with a new tankless water system. Remember that, how proud I was of that? Okay. Yeah. Now, by the way, on the TV show we're recording later, make sure we're going to insert those pictures. I know you can find those, but this is a good one. Now, do you know the reason really I did that? Obviously, I've always wanted a tankless water system, but what perpetuated this whole thing? Do you remember?
Oh, I mean, I want to say so you could save more money, but I'm sure that's not. There's probably more.
It's a four-legged hairy dog that I have.
Oh
begins with S.
yeah. That extra kid you got named Stella. That's right.
Okay, so here's the deal. When we built the home, see, Stella needs grooming because of the long hair, right? Okay, it's bred as a show dog, and her hair is long. The problem is Stella gets deathly car sick. Were you aware of that? Have I ever told you that?
Yeah, I've heard you and Susan both talk about that.
So we'd take her to the groomer where she gets all groomed up. On the way home, I mean slobbers and carry. Have you seen Cujo? Kind of looks like Cujo by the time we get home. So I told Susan when we built this house, I said, we are going to put in a small little area for the dog room so a groomer can come, and it works out great. What we didn't realize, we got this 70-gallon water heater that's kind of in the middle of the room. And quite frankly, it was a little bit of a fire hazard because when they'd cut Stella's hair, you had hair blowing around, you got flames. I'm thinking, this is my excuse to get my tankless water heater that I wanted all the time, the water tank. So we stick that thing in. It was expensive. It makes plenty of room. You know, again, though, the water heater was perfectly fine, right? It wasn't broken. Well, that was back in February of last year. Guess what went out this weekend?
Your tankless water heater.
Yes. And you know how complicated that thing is?
No, I don't know how complicated it is. That's how complicated it is.
So like my original plumber, I couldn't find him. He was busy, so I called a service. I said, do you all have anybody that specializes in this? Yes, we got one guy. We'll send him over. And they did. I don't know about you, Aaron, but when somebody comes over to fix something, I mean this with all due respect, I really don't want to know how to build the watch. Just tell me the time.
Right.
I've never heard so much jargon and technical jargon about a tankless water system. And all I said is, look, partner, I know one thing. If you don't get this thing fixed, my wife's going to kill me. So after several $100s, we got it fixed. But again, that was my, ain't broke, don't fix it moment. It did come back to bite me, but apparently the hot water's working. But anyway, so let's get back to this Secure Act. In case you're just now joining us, our friends in Congress, to me, have had an ain't broke, don't fix it moment. They took a perfectly good situation where everybody needed to draw money at 70.5, which I think you should. I don't think there's any reason to put off the pain. All it does is make the tax tumor grow worse and worse. But they put it off till 72. So now you can begin taking your RMD at 72 under certain requirements. If you have any questions, by the way, we have specialists on staff that can help you with all this at Tony Walker Financial. So this is a radio show. I'm giving you general topics for your specific situation. And you want to talk about this, go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and we can help you sort out this whole RMD mess. So that was part of it. Then the second part, which I think will be even more of a problem when you die, is your kids are going to be forced to deal with a tax tumor within 10 years rather than stretching it out. So here's the deal. Here's what I really worry about, Aaron. We'll get into some options here in the next segment, but I want to talk about what's going on with the stock market. As you know, as we record the show, the market's very, very high, right?
Right.
Way up there, highest it's ever been. More power to the stock market. We have some people's money in the stock market if that's what they want to do, and our accounts even. I mean, I had a couple in yesterday, and they're like, Tony, should we be putting more in these Schwab accounts? This thing's going through the roof. And I'm like, wait a minute, slow down. No, this is fine. We only wanted a percentage over here. Let's not get greedy. This thing could still go down. So that's why we don't recommend our saver clients. Do you know our saver clients, most of them only have probably a max of about 30% in the market. That's max. And again, we're not working with investors and speculators. This is a show dedicated to savers. So anyway, but here's the real problem. When you are forced to take these RMDs, let's say you wait till 72, that's fine. And let's say you had $300,000 in there. The government is going to make you take a certain amount of money out. You understand that. It's a calculation. And let's just say that first year it's $12,000. Roughly, that's about what it would be. And you take it out. The next year, it goes a little higher. See, it's going to go higher every year because the government wants their taxes really before you die. Is that making sense?
Right.
These are not stupid people. They understand. They want that tax revenue.
The older you get, the closer you get.
That's right. Yeah. That's exactly. No. And remember, everything, folks, is based on when they think you're going to die. Social Security, pensions, RMDs, annuities, everything revolves around somebody trying to figure out when you're going to die. Life insurance, that's all it is. So anyway, you sit there and you take out your minimum distribution. Next year the market goes out. You take out even more because it went up. And then all of a sudden, let's say the market goes through another 08 and drops, we'll just say in half. I saw as much as people drop in half. So now all of a sudden, it's down to 150. And Aaron, you've been around me enough, and I know you don't pretend to be a financial guru, but you hear me talk all the time. So if the market drops by 1/2, in other words, you have 1/2 less money, that's probably not a good time to take money out. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I wouldn't. But
you don't have any choice. Because the government says, wait a minute, Aaron, we don't care if the market's down or not. You have to take money out of there now. You see in the dilemma?
Right.
So remember, folks, with the stock market, whatever you do have in the stock market, this is why we use our proprietary split IRA concept. What that does is it gives us options. So when we get into the RMD ages, and again, this is what a full-time retirement planning specialist is supposed to do. The staff and those working with me are trained to keep an eye on this kind of stuff. It's not watching the investments, trying to earn the highest return at the least amount of, all that's great. That's part of what we do. What we're really trying to do, though, folks, is make sure when we get you your money, when we start handing money back over to you, which is the whole point of saving for retirement, we're trying to keep your costs down. And if you don't have a plan of attack to deal with the next market downturn, in other words, if you've got all your money just thrown in the market and this market goes down and you have to take money out, that's going to be atrocious. So at Tony Walker Financial, what we do, we not only monitor your investments, and certainly we do annuities and life insurance and Medicare supplements, we do all of that, but most importantly, I think our role is setting up a written game plan, monitoring the game plan, but make sure the game plan is set up in a way that's flexible to allow us to help you get the most out of your money. So a lot of people say, well, Tony, everybody seems to be wanting to do retirement planning. Well, number one, if they don't give you a game plan, get a second opinion. If they haven't proved to you that they know what they're doing and they can show you the game plan, get a second opinion. If they don't have staff that's trained in retirement planning, get a second opinion. So if you're sitting there saying, well, I don't have anything like that, Tony, or maybe you've recently been to a dinner seminar. I had a couple in come last night, Aaron, and they've heard me talk about these dinner seminars, and they were actually laughing. They said, it's just like you said, Tony. We went and met with them, and in 30 minutes, once we met with them again after going to the dinner seminar, they're pitching us products, and everything they were bringing up, we kept saying, that's not what we're looking for. And they're like trying to convince us that it is what we're looking for. And they said it was a fiasco. So again, regardless of where you are right now, before you start moving money around and making big-time decisions on your retirement, let us give you a free second opinion. Regardless whether you're 72 or under 72, it doesn't matter. We can help you plan to maximize your required minimum distribution. Now, how do we do that? Well, you got to hang in there. We'll be right back after this break. I'm going to share with you the 5 options available to anybody that's 72 years of age or older. Now, don't turn me off if you're under 72, because you'll be there one day, or you might have parents that are in this age range. Good stuff coming up. You're listening to the Worry-Free Retirement. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Before we lay out the 5 options available to maximize your required minimum distribution, or RMD, for those of you at or over 72 years of age, let me tell you something that I'm very, very excited about. You know, I'm always talking about how can you use and enjoy your money. This really is my philosophy in life, folks. My mission is to help savers not only protect their money, but spend and enjoy it. You know, a lot of people, they lose the connection why I'm always talking about my granddad and his beloved mailbox money and how he worked all of his life for Bell South and retired. You know, when I was around my granddad, I saw a gentleman that kept it very simple. He had his mailbox money. He made sure that the outgo did not exceed the ingo. You know, he lived within his means. That's all that means. By the way, that generation was doing that long before people got on the radio and started broadcasting all these philosophies. No, this is not new, folks. You have to keep it to the basics, and he did. So his mailbox money allowed him to do that. And when he died, he really died virtually, other than a small house in Troy, Kentucky, he died broke. And it was okay, because he got to enjoy his money, he got to live with his money, he got to live with his wife Hazel, he enjoyed his kids, us, everything was great. And I thought about this, and I said, as I'm getting older, Aaron, I've already written several books, but I want to write a book that is sort of a memoir of my life growing up, because I grew up in a lower middle class home. I didn't really have anybody that taught me anything about money, but it gradually did come to me. It kind of all started making sense by osmosis, and then I went and furthered my education with a lot of different opportunities with different people. So I'm proud to announce, we won't give you the exact date, we don't have the exact date yet, but in the end of February, I'm going to be launching a brand new book. I love this title. Don't you? Is the title growing on you, Aaron?
Yeah, I've heard it enough.
Yeah, it's starting to. Okay, live well. You ready? Die broke. Live well, die broke. Now, somebody told me recently, they said, Tony, that sounds like you're wanting everybody to die broke. My point is, folks, it doesn't matter whether you have a gajillion dollars or a few bucks in your pocket. When you die, we all die broke. And since most of us don't know when we're going to die, we have to strike a balance between living now and enjoying our money now, and also make sure we don't run out of it, just like Granddad. And we can show you how to do that. And this book, again, which will be launched at the end of February, Live Well, Die Broke, is going to be a doozy. Now, why am I mentioning it now? Basically, I've got some notes here. Here's how we're going to do this, all right? What you need to do now, if you want to get on a VIP pricing list, when this is launched, we will let you know when it comes out. It's going to be offered for next to nothing for a 24-hour period only. So here's what you do. Go to the website, Live Well, Die Broke. That's all one word. LiveWellDieBroke.com. Enter your name, email, and mobile phone number, and you'll get VIP access to the digital book launch. And we'll provide you updates when it's getting ready to be launched and the exact price. So Live Well, Die Broke, and it's going to put you on a VIP pricing list, and then we'll let you know when the book launch is there so you can get it for next to nothing. I think it's going to be life-changing, or I hope it will be for you. All right, 5 best options for second halfers, or those getting ready to turn 72 or already have. Here's what you can do with this money. All right, the government's making you take an RMD. What can you do? Number one, here's what I would say. Consider spending it. You know, spend it while you can. If it's $13,000, obviously you got to pay taxes on it, but why don't you do something fun with it? My gosh, you know, some of you, you're going to get to a point where you can't spend it. So the first option is you could always spend it. The second option is you could gift it to family. I've got several clients who are doing this, and they said, well, Tony, I don't need the RMD, And I remind them, I say, hey, look, right now we're at some of the lowest tax brackets in history. Why don't you go on and just take the money, that's fine, pay the tax, and then why don't you give it after you've paid the taxes, tax-free to your kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, whoever. Get it out of your name, get it out tax-free. Under the gift tax laws, you can do that, and we can help you figure out how best to do that and what you comfortably should be able to gift. The other part to that is kind of part A and part B. You can gift it directly to charity. Now, what is the advantage of taking an RMD and just giving it directly to charity rather than getting it in your hands, then giving it? Because people would say, well, it's a deduction, isn't it? Why don't I just take it and give it to charity and write a check out of my own checking book? Well, you don't want to do that. It's a qualified planning tool that is available by law, and the reason you want to have it set up to go directly to the charity is it stays off your tax return, thus possibly keeping things like Social Security and things like that won't be taxed. So we can show you how to gift it directly to charity. Here's another one, number 3, diversified. I can show you a way to go ahead and take it out, pay the tax, reinvest it, and then we could even then show you how to have tax-advantaged mailbox money down the road. I can show you how to do that. That's a really cool idea. So just diversify it and keep saving it, but get it out of the tax trap. You could convert it. Now, not the RMD portion. Listen closely. The RMD cannot be converted to a Roth, but you could always look at that and say, you know what? These taxes are low right now. Why don't I just take out my RMD plus an additional amount of money, pay taxes on that? We can help you figure out what, we want to keep you at a certain tax bracket so you don't go into what we call tax bracket creep. We don't want you to creep up in those brackets, and we've got somebody full-time that'll monitor that. But we could do that. We could convert the additional portion to a Roth, and that portion would then be tax-free forever and not be subject to taxes to your kids either. I like that idea. And then finally, one of my favorites, insure it. Now, quite frankly, when you get up in your 70s, you got to make sure you're in good health to get this, and some of you can't qualify, but one of the best things you can do, listen, young people, if you're listening to me, please listen closely. I know people on the radio and TV and the internet tell you won't need life insurance in retirement. It's probably the biggest piece of malpractice advice I've ever heard. Aaron, I had somebody in yesterday, and the gentleman is about my age, and I was asking about some life insurance, and he handed me these policies, and he goes, I had to recently drop those. I said, what are those? And I was looking. It was term life. He said, yeah, I bought those 20 years ago. You know what the premium was 20 years ago? For a $250,000 policy. That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
$240 a year. That's cheap, isn't it?
That's, nothing.
Okay. Now, literally, this past November, guess what the premium went up to? Remember, he's getting older. He's getting closer to dying. Insurance companies know that. What do you think?
I'd say it probably doubled.
Tenfold. It went from $240 a year to $2,400 a year. And guess what he did? He dropped it. He said, I can't pay this. So, folks, if you're 72 or older and in good health, don't rule it out. We still might be able to get life insurance to protect, and I'll show you how to make it a permission slip tax-free forever. If you're younger, my goodness, please let us help you consider life insurance now while you can get it at a reduced rate, because as you get older, it will get more expensive. So the fifth way is insure it. So we've got spend it, gift it to family or charity, diversify it, convert it, and insure it. So you might be sitting there saying, Tony, well, this all sounds well and good, but I tell you what, brother, I'm kind of confused. I don't know what to do. But that's why we're here. At Tony Walker Financial, we are here to help savers worry less about money. And one way we do that is show you how to maximize your 401k or IRA, and also how we can keep up with these new laws to make sure as best we can that the laws are working in your favor and not the favor of the government's. So if you're sitting there and you say, I don't have a game plan, I need a trusted advisor, I'm getting to a point in my life where I just want to see where I stand, please, by all means, contact us at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or you can give us a call at 877-499-9255. By the way, Aaron, we've had more and more people click on the little chat bot, that little figure of me on the website. Click on that if you've got some initial questions, and we'll be happy to try to get back that way as well. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this series on RMD. Next week, we'll have an interesting show, and the title is, What is the Stock Market? Going to be a great show next week, but you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it's mixed, don't try to mix it.